everyone, and welcome to yet another episode of Lifting. We're here with our friends Allison and Jason from Australia, and we are here talking about the topic of grounding. Very prevalent right now, actually. Very important topic right now. One of the most, especially since the whole events of 2020 started, it became extremely prevalent. So, but first, in this episode, which is airing 4/30/22, Joanna, you can give our affirmation blessing, and we can go from there.
Okay, so we're sending warm and loving greetings out to everyone listening to our show. Take a moment to take a deep breath. Take a moment to take your shoes off. Take your moment to be able to put your feet in the sand and the grass and try your best to reconnect with the most loving energy of our world and within yourself. Try not to hear anything except the birds and the whispering wind, and clear your mind of all the clutter that is there. Try to take these moments as often as you can and be renewed to be able to face the world and the craziness of today with all of who you are intact and grounded to this earth. So that's a simple blessing for you all. Please take my advice, and we will now get on to the show talking specifically about grounding.
All right. And just so you know, she made that up on the spot. So, all right. I've had to do the same thing. This is more of an impromptu type of thing. Normally we have a script we read from. But in this case, I believe we have some of the information down pat. It can go into other areas as well. But the area that I'm focusing on myself is more or less how people misconstrue grounding. They think because someone, is doing the things that I do, like the psychic activity or the healings or the remote viewing, all this, that I'm not necessarily grounded. That's actually not true at all. I have to actually be the most grounded to be able to accomplish what I do. So people think that you're way up, your head in the stars, essentially. And there is a truth to that. And you do have to bring yourself back down. But if I was not plugged into the earth, I wouldn't be able to do what I do. And what I do to accomplish this, there are several ways you can accomplish this. I use sometimes hematite. I wear these bracelets to make sure that energy keeps me grounded and I don't get unplugged from the earth. Because if you do that, you're asking for all sorts of astral attacks and things of that nature. Even your own personal protection and shielding can go down. Protection and grounding go hand in hand. And what I do is I've noticed walking barefoot on the earth works incredibly well to reground, and visualizing like tree roots going down into the earth. And also cleaning your feet with salt. I use Dead Sea salt or Himalayan salt on the bottoms of the feet. And I've noticed that takes away any restrictions that any of the bad guys out there put on. And from the start of, it was a little bit before the whole 2020 fiasco started, I noticed a pattern with people's feet over and over and over again, not only with alien occurrences, but with just plain old energetic occurrences. Whereas the feet, the chakras or the energy centers would get severely clogged. And I came to notice that not only were aliens, when they would abduct people, would show up and remove energy from the bottoms of people's feet constantly. They would plug in these little spikes and they would remove energy. But this was the basis for some of the Orion technology that's out there, where they draw energy out of people's feet if they pass over what's known as an energy collector. So the feet were very important, pulling energy out. In return, there was this device that was put on people, or what I call a device. It was really more of an energetics that was put like a sock over people's feet, so that they would be like about 3, 4, even 5, 6 inches off the ground energetically. They weren't plugging into the earth. And I noticed that shungite in the shoes helped. If you get the powder, you put the shungite in the shoes, helped fix this. And even if you walk through shungite dust, it started to help with this. And started to wash away this restriction. So you don't always need someone like myself that can see these things, you can take care of these things yourself. Like I carry hematite, like I said, everywhere. Amber does this too, but what amber does is it not only grounds, but it also helps heal. It transmutes a lot of the junk that's surrounding you, and therefore the effect is more of a healing after that, and the grounding. So you get both benefits from that. And one of the other things is a lot of sunlight on bare skin does this. I've noticed the sun hitting you actually helps out greatly. This is why in 2020 they were trying to get people to stay indoors. Not only would the sun have helped with any viral contagions, it helps with staying grounded. And they wanted you plugged into the television at all times and not out in nature. Being out in nature helps immensely. As an example, there was a recording I did not that long ago that a friend of ours needed some assistance with some of his past life information, and this tied into another conversation our friend Moses had on vampiric entities and such. Whereas there are pockets where they will vampire energy out of people. And what I just said about energy collection units is we saw underneath this castle that was located in Germany, there was this octagonal long shaft that went underneath. It was an antechamber where there was a being at the bottom siphoning energy from above for whoever walked on this. And it was through the feet. It's just like we experienced in Washington, D.C. at the cathedral, the National Cathedral. When we walked in there, we felt the spikes in our feet, or she did more than I did. And that entering that building was a contract essentially to draw energy out of your feet. Regrounding was absolutely necessary completely after that. Whereas your energy level drops. When I dove into bilocated and dove into that energy collector, I was immediately drained. It was really horrible. And I got rid of the being that was under there, had to walk outside in the sun and allowed the sun to bring that level back up. It took a minute or two, but walking on the ground, I didn't even need to do barefoot. Just walking on the ground, I managed to do it fairly quickly. If it had been a little warmer out, I probably would have had no shoes on, but it helped very, very quickly. But at the cathedral, there was even markings on the building basically saying this was an energy or soul collector. There were like sun and moon symbols and beings holding scrolls and things of that nature showing contract. There's a contract when you walk through the door. And so in a situation like that, reconnecting to the earth was absolutely necessary. And I also, every morning when I get up, I check the bottoms of the feet all the time. And I see sometimes entanglements. And I see this in the hands too, but more so in the feet. And also in the hands, I see it here as well, in the right hand, this meridian set in the right hand. But in the feet, I'm always having to push some strange energy out of my feet and form those tree roots into the floor and go outside and form it into the ground. So you have to go through this daily ritual of regrounding all the time, especially if you're doing sessions or something like that. But even if you don't think that anything's amiss, find ways of getting out into nature and being outside, because you'll automatically stay grounded. Sea air does it too, like being in the salt air or near the ocean or something helps as well. But whatever it is you're into in nature. And I used to wear hematite to bed, but I can't wear the bracelets to bed anymore. They sometimes they'll mess with the wrist or something like that, but they also aided in helping with dreamtime invasions as well, and keeping yourself grounded away from that. But there is this misconception though about people that do the work I do and not being grounded. Sometimes it's true where some people get very, very flighty and they will not stay grounded and they'll be all over the place. And they'll be completely disconnected from regular situations and how to adapt in regular life and stuff like that. That's also true. But what isn't true is that everyone that does that is somehow not grounded. And doing what I do, grounding is absolutely crucial to what I do. And I suspect what you guys do as well, because if you didn't, you wouldn't be able to even think straight completely. You do get kind of detached and flighty. And I've had to really watch that. I've had to watch a thing with the feet. I've had to watch also where I go in public, where if I get entangled in people's footsteps as I walk around, that can go up into the energy centers of the feet. This is why I recommend shungite powder or some kind of shoe insert in the shoe, because it blocks that entanglement from taking place. And having shungite around will also block some of those invasions at night with the bottoms of the feet as well. Silver too, but that's more of a protective armor sort of deal. Same thing with shungite, but shungite also aids in blocking the degrounding as well. One other thing before I go on is I noticed Japanese tatami mats work wonders, and earthing a house works wonders as well. When we were in Japan, whenever I needed to reground, I just stepped onto a tatami mat with the bare feet, and the house we were in was grounded through a copper rod in the ground with a wire going to that room. And the mats themselves do it, but having your house earthed, then you're always, the whole thing is completely grounded, and you're secure even while you sleep. I noticed, and hooking up an orgone device to it also helps. Like if you were able to wire one of our pyramids or something up to it, it works wonders. And it helped immediately. Like when I had to recharge and I couldn't go walking around outside, I just stepped on the mat and helped immediately. But the sun does equal job doing it very, very quickly. So, Joanna, I don't know if you want to say anything. But
no, I'm just curious again what you guys think and what your experiences have been.
Yeah, I want to start because what you were saying was really good. But what I've been taught or trained for the last probably 10 years is you can do a little intention of putting your hands out and having the intention of all your aspects of self coming in. And then if your hands are like perfect, you're centered and grounded on a whole different level. But you've got to really bring yourself back in and have really, because sometimes you can be out like that. So for people out there who are needing some extra alignment, you just do that it might take you 10 times, but if your hands are centered and perfectly aligned, you'll find that you come back straight back in. So if you try that later on, it's really, really helpful. And I do that for clients, and we do it all the time.
Yeah, I do that quite a lot because sometimes my hands will be like out of whack in that position. So that actually really helped me, because Jason's more grounded than me. I had to really learn how to ground myself. Obviously, because, we live in a scary world. Who wants to be grounded in a scary world sometimes? So I had to ground myself a lot and learn how to ground myself. And I agree with Jason. I find that if I ground myself into my heart space, that actually centers everything for me. But like you said, with the shungite, I've also had to Jason made me a foil cap, or, one of the traditional aluminium cap kind of things that I stick in my cap, and I put shungite in there because I've had issues when last year when I drove past 5G towers and they were literally pulling me out. So I had to actually build something in my cap to put it in, to have on my head, so I would literally stay grounded in my body. But since then, I've learned to be more grounded and to ground more into my heart space, which actually helps me ground more and stay centered in everything that I do, because I realized once I've grounded in my heart space, I can make decisions a lot easier than being ungrounded.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting you said the thing about the hands, because I've been catching myself just kind of instinctually doing this, and even you see mine is slightly off too. I've been doing this, and there goes the opposite way. Yeah, I've been doing this kind of thing as well, and also I've visualized my aura remaining tighter to me, so it didn't catch all the junk in the ether. Like I always hear people saying, "Oh, I can stretch my aura out 20 miles." I'm like, "Yeah, you don't want to do that, because it's like a fishing net. You're going to grab every astral parasite from here to the other end of the county. So it's like you don't want to do that, and they're waiting for you to do that. You will get an infestation like you wouldn't believe in your energy field. So and then you're going to be twitching for a couple of days. So you don't want that. So I've also noticed that thoughts do come quicker when you are more grounded. And obviously, I have to work on that, because each time I bring the hands together, it's going the opposite way. See when I do that, and I'm aiming for the center, and I had to Nancy, I had to do it that. So I had to, that's very interesting. You brought that up because I'm always fiddling around with the fingers, aligning them, and I didn't understand what my higher self was actually doing. So I was like, what is the body doing this for? And now you just said it. So it was basically recalibrating and realigning to the particular energy. So I find that interesting. I do the hat too. I did the aluminum foil hat thing underneath this for a long time. Under this, of course, I have the shungite and also cat's eye right here, or tiger's eye. And what that does is it diffuses some of the magnetic fields that come in. The shungite takes care of the 5G radiation. And the white's just some bone. I'm going to eventually fill this in with all shungite and silver and all this other stuff. Silver is more of an etheric protector. That's why I wear silver rings and such. And I'm going to eventually put it on a hat too. I found out one other one that also helps protect the crown, and that is apatite. Now this guy right here. And these, it's very, very interesting because under the hat, I have one of those sitting on top of my head right here. And I found out that it forms almost like a watery like barrier over it. I always over the top of the crown. And what I find fascinating about that is at first I thought apatite was just strictly third eye related. I thought it was just an third eye enhancer, which it is. But this seems to put a protective layer over the top of the head. If you put it on any energy center, it seems to flow like water over those energy centers. So it has a secondary property to it that I hadn't counted on. And I put some in a pyramid, a tower buster pyramid I made. I noticed that it started to automatically not only affect the third eye and start to enhance that, but at the same time, it began to almost flow like water around, while the shungite and the tower buster materials were enhancing that torsion field, and almost it was like washing the surfaces with it. I noticed it was interesting, and I put turquoise in there with it, which gave it this extra protective quality. Turquoise is another one that protects, I've noticed, and enhances wisdom and such. It's not like just labradorite, where labradorite enhances ancient wisdom. Turquoise is more of a protector and brings out some ancient wisdom. So I've noticed that by the effects of this. But back on point, the one that I have on my head here, I've just put that straight under the hat, and eventually I'm going to fit like a bead or some beads on it on the hat, so I don't have to do that. But I've noticed that, yeah, it flows like water right over the top. So it does something similar to the aluminum cap. But yeah, if you combine aluminum and shungite, not only does the aluminum also help ground, I've noticed this like hematite, it's similar in that particular property, but its majority of it is shielding. But if you combine that with shungite, I believe you guys showed us an aluminum hat with the shungite particles on it one time. I tried that under this hat one time, and I was almost very dizzy at one point because I didn't realize how much garbage I was getting bombarded with until it was 100% cut off. I was like, oh my God, what is this? And then I started to reground immediately there too, protecting the head. So it's head and feet. They attack from two levels. You have like the AI that hits here, and you also have it hitting underneath where the aliens try to get the energy out of the feet. And they have their little AI components that they hit you with, plus the energy collectors I told you about, which are also artificial intelligence. They mostly artificial intelligence. It's vampiric entity, but also AI as well. And it takes the energy out from the feet, so they get above and below to try to keep you ungrounded and flighty and displaced. This is also what we were saying off air about me being organized with our website material. When I started to do that, that's when we got canceled on Vimeo. It is because I started to actually focus on the task one at a time as I was doing them, and I began to get even more grounded in what I was doing. And this was something that, to the bad guys' recollection, I was not supposed to be doing. So that's one reason for the canceling. Others were woke politics and all that stuff we won't get into at the moment. But it's but that was one of the reasons. I was starting to ground. I was starting to really focus on the tasks. And they don't want that. They don't want people paying attention to their environment around them. They want everybody just kind of detached and they don't want anybody actually grounding and noticing what it is they're actually doing, whether it's an entity or whether it's human shenanigans that are going on in the background. They don't want it noticed. So, yeah.
So when we talk about the concept of grounding, anyway, just to kind of go back to what I would consider the basic information for people that have been listening to this and still don't understand what we're talking about. So to try to take a moment to collectively add to what I'm about to say, to give people an understanding of what we're really talking about. So you come in, you're born into this earth. Most of us are born here. There are questionables about some others, but anyway. So basically you come in at vibrating at a certain frequency. There is kind of this collective range of frequencies that humanity is basically on. Then you actually are stepping foot, being born into a world that has a frequency of its own. And one of the interesting things about the frequency of the earth itself, what the earth is putting out, is basically they're kind of like a nice little friendly support system. And so, you actually, believe it or not, are used to the frequency of the earth that is around you, basically supporting the energies of who you are as well. Okay, as a kind, to help you be able to stay and focus. Because if you took away even all of the unnatural, let's say, negativity that comes our way, there's still bombardments of different energies coming from the universe and this, that, and the other. And the goal is to be somewhat sane and having an experience that you're having, that you're focused and genuine and authentic with as you're having it. So the earth energies actually support your own energies. Believe it or not, one of the things that's really not being talked about, let's say with space and the people that are off planet for a while, is that they begin to have problems being away from the earth and the earth's energy. So talk about not being grounded. How about being in a spaceship or whatever, or the one revolving around the world, and they're realizing that there's some little problems starting to happen. And so, there are attempts to maybe recreate some natural things that happen with Earth on these way stations in different places in order to bring something that our body is used to experiencing, which is the frequency of the earth and how it interacts with us and supports us. So what we're also, I believe, saying is that there are attempts to try to break down that relationship of the supportive earth energies that are nurturing and supporting your energies and interfere with it, and or certain belief systems of how fun it would be to completely take your energies and disconnect it from your body and go off and see whatever you want to go see, kind of that astral traveling kind of mindset that's out there. So without any safety, and that's what's key, is that, it's not like this isn't being accomplished. What we talk about is, well, think about it. If no one's minding the farm while you're out there doing that, what actually could now start interfering and what could be waiting for you when you get back? So what we're saying is that in times that you are not feeling great, in times that you are feeling, literally, you could be feeling kind of disconnected, let's say, a little bit from life, or disconnected from people, having trouble focusing, this, that, and the other, there could be, again, an interference going with your natural relationship between your own energies and even the earth energies. And again, we're saying the earth energies are very strong. They're supportive to your own. So one way to go out and to combat some of this is to literally take a moment to do certain exercises or commune with nature, or get back, see yourself grounded as a tree, and do some of these things, because what you're actually doing is you're bringing back in those other nurturing energies that will help restore some balance within you that may be escaping you at this moment. So I hope I kind of stated a little bit of what we're talking about with grounding. You have to be willing to take in the conversation that we're actually energetic beings. and that we do vibrate at certain frequencies, and so does the earth. And when you're born upon a certain planet, you adapt to the nurturing energies of that planet. It becomes integral as a part of your life, as well. And so, how do you go about it, or how do you maybe recognize that maybe you're not as connected as you need to, and you need to get reconnected to nurture yourself a little bit more and bring yourself back into balance. So that's really what we're talking about. But the one I do want to talk about, the astral travel, and we've spoken about this before on different shows, is what we're saying is that try to think of that, for those of you that go off and do that, consider that if you really are completely leaving, that no one's minding the farm. And we've seen so much energetic interference, or as you're talking about, parasites, or it could be other things that are happening that are infiltrating the energies of the body waiting for you. So what we said is maybe consider a different mindset. There is no reason why you cannot expand from your body to do something, and you're still minding the energetic farm. So what we say is consider just a different way of doing it, where you would want to ensure that, your body and your energetic self is safe. So instead of saying I'm disconnecting from my body to go off and travel, that you're expanding to see whatever it is you want to see, but you're still connected as a whole to this. And so that's what we're trying to get across, even with it. And there is a true attempt by negativity in all kinds of different ways to separate you from that earth energies. Now we can do it ourselves, but there is interest, because it will make you more vulnerable to other things potentially coming in, and you then aren't fully centered, and you're not 100%. It's just the bottom line. You're not going to be 100%. So it allows for other things to come in to cause disruption. And so that, it's like, you want to walk around with a bodyguard. Think of the earth as your bodyguard. Think of nature as your bodyguard. Think of these things that are here for us, that do strengthen our energies and do. And some people, if they feel they're being bombarded, man, they get out to a deep forest. They're not going to feel that anymore, because the nature around you is going to basically take on some of that bombardment, and you're going to be left for a moment of peace to be able to heal. So I just wanted to take a second, and please add to anything that you want to add to what I said. I just wanted to try and define it a little bit better for folks listening.
Yeah, look, the importance of grounding. So when I was a young kid, I was never in my body, never grounded. I was space cadet. But as I got older and I had certain different teachers, I was always told to eat heavier foods. So food's a really big part in grounding as well. So your earth-based foods like, your potatoes and your carrots and that sort of stuff, that will help also ground you as well. The crystals and the earth is extremely important, but it's also what we consume as well within ourselves, which can make a big difference to supporting us being grounded.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Sorry, it's interesting that you spoke about the sea air as well, because sometimes it depends on the person as well. Sometimes I find that going to the beach and the sea air is more grounding. I think because of the movement of everything. For some reason, the movement makes me more grounded than I still get grounded going into nature, but I think it's that energy that the ocean is actually creating, that magnetic field, that it helps to ground me more. Oddly enough, if I don't feel grounded, if I feel a little queasy in my stomach, which a lot of the time it's energy that I'm sensing, I would eat something that's salty as well. And that helps to ease and balance everything out. But yeah, the salt air also is really, I find, something to do with the ocean moving really helps with that magnetic pull back down again.
Yes, yeah, I've noticed that when we were on beach side, it was on either side of the country, it didn't matter which one. Where we were in the sea air environment, the salt really assisted in the grounding process. It also, feed on the sand, when we were in the Outer Banks at the time, we were walking on the sand and everything, and it worked incredibly well.
But not everybody. I
Mhm.
think it's one of those things to understand. We have multitude of environment. Some people may feel more grounded than ever just by, being in a desert environment or in a
Mhm.
mountainous environment.
Anywhere in nature, yeah.
Anywhere. I don't know the mechanics of the why, you know what I mean? But I do believe that different things will work for people. I would agree. I think we probably become more strongly grounded in an ocean or big body of water type environment. I think for us that works. And then other people have, kind of what works for them. If you're in a concrete jungle though, you can't, it doesn't mean you can't be grounded. I think then these are some of the wonderful where you really kind of have to use your visualization. You may bring plant life into your apartments or into your things like that. Get out and breathe the air. I know it could be a little smog filled, but it's still, get out and breathe the air. Some of the exercises, that are going on that Jason is talking about and things like that. And the visualizations of going and seeing yourself as rooted and grounded, within. So just because you don't necessarily get the opportunity to be out of a concrete jungle sometimes, it certainly doesn't mean that you can't do other things to help yourself as well. Again, and the point is reconnecting with the earth grid and the earth energies that are there to literally help support you. And again, I think the earth energies, I'm saying this as a whole because we've certainly run across where we know some pieces of the land are dense for a lot of different reasons that need to be cleared. And if you stood on those dense pieces for a long time, you would absorb that energy. So putting that aside as the conversation, because we know that exists, the vast majority though of the times is that the goal is to support your energies and to help nourish them, to really, keep you grounded and centered in your experience here on earth. And that we literally, again, like I said, if you went off earth and you took the spaceship to Mars, you're going to have some problems. They've had to learn as they're learning with people leaving earth. Now they're learning about that energetic relationship. And then how do we help people? And so the interesting thing that's come up a little bit of, I hate it when we bring up something that maybe, someone's going to say, oh, you said that word, we're going to pull we're going to pull your video. But I must say that this topic of grounding and or being disconnected is something that has concerned a lot of people involved in energetic type of work with some of the issues of the current vaccine that's being deployed around the earth, and or maybe even others, other types of things that you've introduced into your body. And there's an effect where you're not seeing a separation of your energies from your body itself. And there is concern, just like there are medical concerns about physical side effects that people are watching and worrying, and everyone knew, we didn't know. And now they're collecting data on, the side effects of some of these things. But there is a concern of an energetic side effect as well. And so, we can all share. Jason, you were talking a little bit about, what the conversations are going on around in your parts and what you're hearing as far as the energetic concerns of some of these things that have been introduced into people's bodies.
Yeah, look, nobody, lots of the people I talk to and work with are already healers and they've got a lot of knowledge and they've got their own practices and stuff like that. and are very well knowledge people, but they've all been, felt that they needed to have this done. And they've all noticed that they have changed. I was talking to somebody yesterday, and she said, my taste buds have changed, and this has changed, and is it connected to this or connected to that? And it's like, yes, all the above. The energetic stuff's so important with what you do put into your body, especially what's happening now currently is very, very important. And people need to maybe have a rethink of what they're actually doing, because there is a big separation happening within, everywhere, everyone who's, taken this on. It's a little bit concerning, to be honest with you.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, it's very concerning. I've seen that it separates someone exactly from themselves, or like Joanne likes to say, it shoves their true personality into their big toe. And I've noticed this separation, because when you separate a soul from body, or the light from the body becomes more psychopathic in nature, and that's nature for all vampiric beings that are out there as well, where they become this vacuum where they're just sucking on the energy of others. And this is what this substance does. It separates you on that fundamental level. And I've noticed time and again people getting this done. And then there's this fundamental change to their personalities. And that's what it's doing. It's they don't notice it because it's so gradual. Some do. If they're energetically sensitive to it, they will notice it, but they don't know how to reverse it. And I've had people come to me in sessions trying to reverse it. It's possible to do it. It's just arduous. And it's very, very laborious and taxing, but it is possible to do it, getting the right vibrations to eliminate what's entered the body and separate that to the point where it's not separating the soul light from the body or canceling out the soul light from the body. I've noticed one other aspect to this in the etherics specifically. I've seen these devices floating in the etherics above people's heads sometimes. They're triangular shaped. And people misinterpret this as getting downloads. It's artificial intelligence, and again, it goes back to AI, and it tries to block the soul light from the rest of basically block the rest of you from you. And it tries to make it so you can't get any downloads. It also makes it so people are more 3D matrix-y type oriented, to where they're just going through the motions of the day. They're not getting any of their soul's wisdom, essentially, is what it is. And this goes hand in hand with the other thing we were talking about. Folks, we would mention it here, but in light of us having been canceled, we're not doing this. So I just want people to understand why, the context behind this. So I know it sounds stupid the way we're saying it, but this is how it is at the moment. So, that aside, I've seen other AI out there, aside from that, attempting to do the same thing, but from the outside. And they can't quite accomplish it unless you put this in your body to make that circuit connection. It can try to block some of it, but true soul, and I'm being reminded by who's ready to come through in a little while, true soul cannot be 100% blocked unless that is your complete intention to do so. Meaning, like entities that have gone completely vampiric, and that particular viral contagion has separated themselves from their body. Our friend Moses and I just did a show on vampiric entities and vampires and stuff, explaining the different viral contagions that separate you from your soul. And then there's this soulless body walking around. That is one of the ultimate goals, so that it can be refilled with something else or not. I've seen it being refilled with something evil or another consciousness altogether. I've seen people get completely taken over. I've even seen synthetic people that are more robotic too, that are the replacements for people that are out there. That's something that's been very prevalent right now too. They're literally total artificial intelligence, like the Terminator with like a skin over the metal skeleton sort of thing. That's an actual thing. And some are plasticky inside too. Some are kind of plasticky. But the point of me bringing this up is how important grounding is because if you're totally grounded, which means you are aware of all of this that's going on, and you begin to see these things going on. So keeping yourself grounded and not also by being poisoned by a lot of these substances out there, including some of the stuff in foods. I've noticed the vibrations of these different foods. As much as I try to deny seeing it, I'm not blind either, because we eat a lot of crap. So it's like, so I try not. I'm trying to forcibly blind myself to it, but it's like it's impossible. So where I'm seeing literally the vibrations of the different foods. As much as I try to raise the vibrations of those with our devices or with energy work and stuff like that, there's only so high I can get it, because it was pre-programmed to do a specific task on the body. And each chemical and poison was designed, genetically modified to perform a certain task on the body, to keep a particular part, either grounded in the wrong thing or degrounded altogether, or in a low vibration. Like say certain foods can take the stomach and intestines and really lower the vibration to the point where your stomach is just queasy, like you're seasick all the time, just like if you're around a negative person or a negative area, a haunted area. And it's the same thing. The energies will affect the liver, which affects the stomach, which then drags everything down. That's from external energies. Food going into the GI tract allows GI parasites, like astral parasites, to collect in there. And you get also vulnerable to actual parasites like tapeworms and stuff like that, which also bring the vibration down. And as much as I've noticed that, it feels like I'm carrying around an anchor everywhere, and that will deground you as well, heavily deground you. And like I said, as much as I try to deny looking at this, it's like it's essentially a repetitive fork and light socket moment. So it's where you're constantly seeing what it's taking place, and you're still going, and it's still no matter what. It's like this scene I saw. People will understand this reference. This scene I saw from the cartoon years ago called Futurama, where the character Fry finds out what's in his soda, and he's continually going. He's drinking, and they're yelling at him, going, Fry, what are you doing? He goes, and then he picks it up and goes, does it again. It's like, and that's what people do. They know what's in it. They know it's crap, but they're still doing it, and that's because it's an addictive thing too. So that heavily, any sort of addiction will deground you as well. And sometimes those things never leave the mind. The mind won't let them go. Yeah. Just like recently, I managed to get off the Diet Coke that I was drinking for years, and the brain will not let it go, and at all. And I know not to touch it anymore. I'm kind of just remaining vigilant in that. Just kind of, it's more like a willpower thing, but it literally will not let it go. And it didn't even taste that great either. It was just the chemicals that were in it, And for years, I was drinking that since I was a kid. And I've noticed that it was not only causing stomach issues and bodily issues, it was causing energetic ones too. And it was degrounding. And I had to completely rid it. When I got sick some months back, my taste buds changed, and it tasted weird. So I just figured, okay, this is a good enough time to get off of it anyhow. Never went back to it after that since the end of last year. So the body has reacted very strange to it not being there. It's been grounded more, but at the same time, the cells are wondering where it is. It's like, okay, what did you do with this? Sort of thing. The mind goes, okay, when are we going to get more of this? And I have to basically tell the brain, no, the soul has to tell the brain and the body, hey, you're not getting this back again. You have to adapt into a new mode here, and or more of an alkaline base than an acidic one, or a balance between the two. And that's also another thing. Alkaline based bodies will ground immediately. And I've noticed this, anything that or something that's way too acidic, like if you've been eating too much acidic garbage and you reintroduce the alkaline and put it back to center, you'll ground immediately. I've noticed this very, very quickly. Alien technologies won't survive in your body as well, in an alkaline-based body. They're acidic-based. They thrive off of the acidic poisons and everything. That's some of their fuel, acidic or harmful low-density energies. Once you get grounded and you get alkaline, these things won't survive, and they'll just become inert. It completely kills these implants, and it will kill the black goo as well, I've noticed, and any nano infections of any kind. it's hard work to get it there because it will fight you. It will tempt you to try to feed it fuel from what it wants. So it will add to the addictive qualities. But if you manage to put it in, it's a toxic environment for it. It dies. So and then you're free of it at that point. I've noticed alien tech that was in my body at one point. I had an implant in my back, and one day, somebody showed up and removed it, but I managed to not only mentally shut it off, but by doing the what Viking always suggests is the baking soda technique, where you constantly use baking soda to re-alkalize your body or settle your stomach. And I did that, and a lot of the alien tech or any of the alien tech that was in my body just died off. Anything that I couldn't physically remove or couldn't energetically remove, it shut off.
We've been drinking Borax.
Huh?
Borax.
Borax?
Yeah, we've been drinking that. That's fantastic for getting rid of parasites.
Just a little bit, just a sprinkle. And
You wouldn't think that you'd be able to tolerate borax, so even though it's heavily alkaline,
yeah, and baking soda as well. I've done the baking soda thing too, because there was a time when my body felt so acidic that I could feel it on my tongue. And I said to Jason, I think I'm going to, there's too much going on in my body. So I started drinking, putting, I don't even know how much, a little bit of the baking soda, and I could actually feel on my tongue starting to alkaline and kind of calm down. As well. So baking soda and borax is actually very interesting.
Oh, and the clay stuff is really good as well. Can't remember the name of it, but it's a fine clay you put into your drink, and it takes and helps detox as well. That's really
it was like diatomaceous earth or something like that. Yeah. That one does too. Yeah. I've heard good things about that in the grounding techniques as well. There's so many different combinations you can use as well to accomplish this, but the tried and true ones work really well. What you said about the hands showing, of course, I'm still not doing it. So it's still doing that, but you would think I'd be able there. It's actually hard to actually do that, and keep that aligned. One other technique I came to find out for this is if you have a swimming pool. This is, or if you're swimming and it's placid, where there's no waves or anything like that. And you get in there, and you can also, not only can you tell if you have an attachment doing this, but you can tell, or an implant or something that's off, or a part of your body that's off, but you can tell if you're not grounded as well. And you float in water, ironically, floating, as a gauge for not being grounded. And if I floated in a pool, I could see that I was leaning towards this way. Some of it was the metal that's in my right leg, but the rod I have in my right leg. But I also noticed that it was leaning me, the water was leaning me this way. And I found out I had an attachment that was on my right side that was heavier than the water. It was physically heavier in the frequency environment, the frequency value it was in. It's physical, but it was heavier than the water. It would have sunk like a lead weight if it had been here. So that's another way. If you're not grounded, you'll start to bob strange too. Like you won't be able to keep your balance in the water. You'll start, it'll feel like you're kind of pivoting weird and everything. It's, but if you float normal, like you're just floating normal on the water, then you're grounded. I've noticed that there's that's another gauge. It's the same as the thing with the hands. It's very similar to that, and I've noticed that quite efficiently using a pool. It was hard to gauge. I had to get my own body's gauge because I do have metal in my body with the rod, and it's fairly heavy. It's a fairly heavy piece of equipment they put in there. It's titanium and stainless steel, but it's fairly heavy. And I don't know the pounds on it or anything, but I noticed I had to gauge, kind of have a baseline with that in there, to noticing that some of that was causing the slight difference. But that aside, I was able to tell if I wasn't grounded or if I had an attachment or what have you, if I couldn't see it or not. And then I would check that part of the body, and sure enough, I would find something. So I thought that was actually quite interesting. Not sure how much time we got left on the episode, but I think we can go into the galactic portion here. We're towards the end of that, so I believe we can go into this. This is someone who has been on these shows quite frequently recently in certain recordings and in private sessions as well. This is one you guys have not heard of yet. his name is Krum, and he's a giant, and he comes from at least his physical self or the physical self that he shows now was mainly around the mid to late Atlantean period. He evolved many centuries ago evolving from a more of a gelatinous form into a physical body where the organs and the bones and everything were beginning to form and the skin was beginning to form. That was the original life that was on this planet, more of a Titan form. And his
Long time ago.
millions of years.
Yeah,
And,
long time.
and I didn't think to look back this far because I found out my own soul history was back in those times as well, where souls were even beginning to be formed and formations separated from one another, where they would come from gelatinous forms and separated into beings from spirit to gelatinous to bone and skin after that. And I found out the original beings that were here prior to any alien intrusion. And I found this very, very fascinating, that this group is essentially wholly and completely earther. They're human, but humans are offshoots of them. And where we had to downgrade as other DNAs were brought in, and also the food was disappearing as well. We had to go down in size, well, at least the original beings before any intrusion. So,
But even the new meaning, just as an aside to, when you may hear people talk about the ancient builder race, right? And they talk about it being these huge, well, they weren't necessarily not of this world, that some of them really just were still of the original world, and they were very, very large. So building some of these sites around the world, that you see these huge stones, would not be an issue to them. That's how large they were.
Like picking up like something like this.
They were huge beings. And so, some of it will start to make sense to a lot of people when they can really open themselves up to that it's older than what it appears, and that there really were beings that were of this earth that were much bigger in stature than we were.
Yeah, he's in excess of 100 feet tall. So, and they can shrink in size to be able to communicate like this with us. But if you went to their mountains and such, you would be seeing these humongous beings, and the frequencies they're in, they're humongous. They resemble, I'll go into a brief, since you guys haven't heard this. If you think of like Gandalf the Grey or Gandalf the White or something like that, they are like Lord of the Rings. That's exactly what you're looking at. That, and also like from the Elder Scrolls, the Greybeards, or Shalador the Mage, or any of those type of groups. That's essentially what you're dealing with. And that's where all of these things came from. That's where a lot of this came from, like the spell languages, anything you want to think of, like medieval fantasy wizard. That's them. Yes, I know. I'll shut up so you can talk. Okay, let's see. He was calling me by my soul name, which is Tor Rang Kao. I found out that's where I come from, his group, and he is Krum. I would say something was longer in the name, but he goes by Krum, which some people might find that familiar from the Conan series, like Crom, the god Crom. It's basically the same time frame you're dealing with. You have Conan's time frame, which is much later, like ancient Sumeria. Then you have Crom, which was supposed to have come from Atlantis. Same thing. So same thing. So that was actual early history that was being told in that. So yes, Crom. Yes, Crom. Okay, his energy is very, very intensive. Any of them that from the group, it's like having a large voice, speaking the background, like this big booming voice, but energetically. So yeah. Speaking of metallic, there's a lot of metal taste in the air. That's all you can tell when chemtrails are around. You get metal in the mouth too. That'll also deground you. So let's see. Yes, my name is Krum, And yes, I'm of a giant stature, that of the earlier Earth group of giants. We call ourselves the Vizar, and we occupy aspects of Europe, like countries such as Norway, Denmark. We will not mention the German group because they are quite obnoxious, but the other aspects such as ancient Hyperborea, Greenland, Iceland, a lot of these areas. Even though I'm not giving away my actual position in this is what we are up against. The magics that are being used now are quite prevalent. The magics that are being used against not only the human body, but the human mind and soul are quite prevalent now. The urge to act against your better nature is so prevalent. The urge to not be yourself is so very prevalent right now that it is a travesty on the human condition, and that we cannot always abide. You see, we, as not only just observers in the background, but we are fighting a war against a lot of these different beings that wish to, let's just say, run awry around the planet, such as dark magicians, such as Orion, Greys, and other type of what we would call, and you humans would call, Fomorian type counterparts. In the days of the elves and the Tuatha, Fomorian would also be from Orion. This is where this came from. And they began to gain human followers in those periods. But this is pre-Atlantean period. But I myself have been around for millions of your years, as he himself and my dear brother and friend, Tornak. We have been around for many, many millennia. But the magic at hand is that of grounding. They are attempting so hard to deground you out of the position and the mindset and the way of being that you are. They get you to forget the basic fundamentals of who you are and why you are here at all. Sometimes why you are here is just to be you amongst a crowd of many or a crowd of few. That is ultimately your choice. But if energies are starting to mess with your energy matrices, by all means, keep your circle tight. And this is something that I would advise to stay grounded. Keep your circles tight, because if you do not, and you are around other influential energies that could deground you, then you make yourself susceptible to multiple forms of magical and telepathic, as well as artificial intelligence influences. This is what is taking place primarily now, more than ever. There is so much outwardly influence, fear, and anguish in the atmosphere, unbalance in mass scales, lies and deceit in mass scales, of which I do not need to mention here. But the magics that are involved, the voice like we use, which has been depicted in multiple game and movie formats, that type of combat, that type of influence, mental influences such as telepathy, as I'm also using, as well as chemicals and substances to keep you ungrounded and detached from self, as well as disrupting the chemistry of your body, like he just said, from above in your chemtrails. The clue is, if you start to taste metal for no reason, it is coming from the skies. This can be blocked with certain, as they would say, orgone pieces, as well as other chemical counterbalances, such as alchemic and certain bases in the body that are non-acidic. Sorry for the interruptions. They do not wish this to be said. The magics at hand and the alchemies at hand, the alkaline base that you need to form within you can combat each other and cancel each other out. You see, the poisons in your food are so very ugly, as it were, at the moment. We know this is what is available. So cutting yourself off completely is, as you two say, unrealistic, and this we would agree upon. However, keeping a constant alkaline balance with that of those poisons is crucial now, because this is causing a degrounding. Keeping yourself away from particular energies, yes, but knowing when to walk through the coals and the fire as well to get to the other side of this must also aid in the grounding. What I mean is this: you must be able to live your life, you see. You must be able to walk amongst the people, but wear the protections that and the stones and the pieces that is necessary, but at the same time, not becoming dependent on them and forming your own inner magic and becoming he would say the wizard or the magician you are meant to be, or the self that you are meant to be. Bringing in the soul self most prevalently is extremely prevalent now more than ever in history. Accessing the totality of your library and not expecting a savior in your life to end all of the calamities of your world. This is also now where I can take questions if all three of you like.
Want to go? Got anything?
No, I don't have a question.
Thank you, Grum, for being here. I feel like I know you from a long time ago, so I appreciate that that connection again. Is there something that we can do every day? I mean, we've talked about crystals and grounding, stuff like that, but is there anything else you could probably add to make it even more simplified for everyone that can do to help ground themselves even more? Because this has just been, as you said, this is pretty crazy stuff. There must be something else that we can do to help ground that you know of, that, if that makes any sense.
Yes, indeed. Yes. The visualizations that you've spoken about, the tree roots in the earth, yes, help out immensely. But for those that are not part of the meditational regiment, like you guys are, or at least of that particular knowledge set, there are external substances that can help out greatly. You have found a couple in the powdered form, such as your borax and different baking sodas and such. This actually does help, and different clays do help, you see. They begin to cleanse the body. In excess amounts, this won't do the trick, will actually destabilize you. But in gradual, slow drip amounts, or as he likes to say, within millimeters and centimeters, changing slowly the body's alchemy to get used to this. This is a way to deground, or ground to fight the degrounding magic that is taking place on your properties. He has been suggesting putting shungite powder on the properties and different silver substances and some of his liquids with the sages and the lavenders and the patchoulis and the Palo Santo woods. Those are good for clearing the etherics, but the shungite on the ground, as well as powdered selenite on the ground, your feet walk upon this, not with your bare feet, of course, but the putting this on your drive and in your yard and around your property. This helps to reground people nearly immediately. The amber powder, yes, as he has said, and frankincense and myrrh, that is more for fighting sickness and viral contagions. But the tutami mat, as he said, that is made of reeds. This is something that is also quite crucial. Like if you have this in a meditation room space, or even in your house just to walk upon, like the Japanese people do. This is something that is actually quite prevalent for grounding. Walking outside barefoot, as you've said, and bare skin under the sun. This is extremely crucial. But for those that are not into those things, you can carry substances with you, like certain stones, like the hematites, or the ambers, and even types of salts, like he claims in his pockets, like this, with these types of devices that he carries to reground with the hematites and the salts within them. Not only does this help with etheric bad guys, but this also aids in the regrounding because it contains amber and salts combined. This is why he has been compelled to combine these in all of his salt pucks. This was more of a soul-based and subconsciously based set of instructions that was pumped into his conscious from his soul self, Torankal. This is why this has been being done. But practically, this is all the final thing I will say is a practical thing is eating the correct foods, even though this may not be practical in your daily lives, because everything in the United States and your country of Australia has been poisoned to some degree. Even in other countries, it has been poisoned to a very minor degree, unbeknownst to people, in millimeters and centimeters, shifting their bodies out of balance. So they are attempting to put their bodies back in balance, like you saw the Japanese people in YouTube were over there. One is finding the very foods that help ground. Now, I know this will be an unpopular answer for people, but say meats, for example, hold a very low vibrational value, especially certain red meats and such. But some of your chicken and fish meats are good. You can bless your foods, of course, basically say blessing over the food and say that it is non-poisonous and it's non-harmful, and really mean this in your intentions. However, there are certain chemicals in certain aspects of different meats that are indeed degrounding you on almost an hourly basis. And they do attract different parasitical entities as well as different physical parasites within your frequency value, even though those others are physical, the actual ones that have noteworthiness in your scientific communities and medical communities, such as your tapeworms and the like. I know this is an unpopular answer. We are not promoting or saying a particular way of life, such as veganism or vegetarianism. We do not practice this, but we have our own meats, but we do not have the poisons within it. I am just pointing out what is within your societies that have the most prevalent degrounding things within your society. You can choose to either do this or not do this. This is completely up to you. And also we know that you need to have this around for protein type of supplementations in your body. So we're not saying go off of this. This is not something we would give instructions for. We're just saying where the poisons lie. Also within some of your genetically modified vegetables, it is there as well. So we're saying it in all of your foods and water. You call it fluoridation, but there are other things within the water, different metal particles and such that are separating you from within as well. To end this though, alkalizing the body and also adding the different powders on the property will aid in this particular regrounding process for those that are not necessarily into what you would call the metaphysical or the magical, mystical aspects. So thank you.
So just real quick on something that may be not so expensive for people to get that they could add to their diet. Do you guys feel that people could, ingest something simple like lemon water, things like that, that aren't really that expensive, that people can get natural teas like a hibiscus tea, natural lemon, things like that, and add that to their, to their waters? I would think that those may be also some very inexpensive ways to that would satisfy you, because a lot of people realize if they drink lemon water or they add it, the lemon water itself kind of cuts the cravings for other things, but it's because you think it's acidic. It's a lemon, it's an acidic thing, but actually that's not what happens in your body. Just the opposite happens. It becomes very alkaline. And so kind of, I would think something as inexpensive as starting to buy some lemons, add it to water or add it to a tea, and different things should be able to also start that process in your body of changing things to an alkaline base. Do you agree with that?
Indeed, correct. It is good you have brought this up. Apparently my old brain did not bring up this particular subject. The lemons and oranges are a fantastic source to be able to reground because of the fact that it starts to convert to alkaline within the body. The people are put off by the fact that it is a citrus acid and they think they're going to get sores or the like. No, the sores come from a viral source created by your cabal and other alien contagions that have been on your earth, such as your canker and fever sore herpes type infestations. This is very different than taking in too much vitamin C, you see. They wanted people to become afraid of taking in too much of this, so therefore they associated it with a viral contagion that has absolutely nothing to do with the fruits themselves or the vitamin C itself. With the lemons and the oranges, if you are to put them in your teas or in your water, like some places are doing, having pieces of lemon floating in a water tank, this is actually quite good because it aids in this alchemic process and this alkaline process. And it helps reground. Oranges actually not as much as lemons. And another one may surprise you that's stronger than the two combined. That would be your grapefruit. This is one that is actually the most potent in this area, even though it is the most sour. This one puts the other two's ability to shame, but I am not condemning the other two. Some people do not like grapefruit, but it is one that allows for this at a much faster pace. So if you want to reground quickly, this may upset your stomach to a degree if you have some of the toxins within it. But grapefruit juice, and also the fruit you like, known as pineapple. We have a different name for it that you wouldn't be able to pronounce because it has a regenerative capability, not only within the blood, but within the gastrointestinal tract and within the alchemic system as well, where you can alkaline the body with pineapple. This is why it upsets the stomach, because if you are too acid-based, it begins to realign, and then your stomach becomes upset. But the strongest even of pineapple is still grapefruit. But these all are fantastic for this purpose.
And again, we're not talking humongous amounts of them. So I think, I guess I say that because, people will get obsessed and think they have to have 2 oranges a day or whatever. But really, when you get down to it, if you had a quarter of an orange a day or a quarter of a lemon squeezed into something a day, really, we're not talking huge quantities. That it's just if it's given to you on a more consistent basis. I say that literally for financial reasons, that I don't want people thinking what we're saying is you've got to eat tons and tons of this. But what you want to do is start incorporating it into your life. You know what I mean? And buy some of these less expensive things that can, a lemon could last you several days, and it's, 60 cents or something. Things that you can do that are kind of inexpensive, that are actually big bangs for the buck, as far as aiding in that alkalinity and grounding process.
Mm-hmm. Yes, there are so many things even within your chemically mutated, let's just say, society within those areas, but it is not all for naught in your society. Within these chemicals, eventually people will become immunized to them, and the chemicals will no longer function within the process by which your cabal wants it to. This is actually a good thing, but this will take quite some time to do so. It doesn't mean that those contaminants are going to be around a very long time. No. What I'm saying is, yes, within your society, you have the fruits, vegetables, and even some meats that are virtually free of these chemicals. The best way, of course, is to grow your own, but we know that in some situations this is not practical, so that we will not blanket that information over all people. We are just saying, if you cannot, there are sources for this within your own neighborhoods and storefronts. I will not name the different businesses that are associated with the cabal, but just know if you go to ones that are not cabal associated, say if you see them not participating in your current narrative, those are ones that are virtually free of the poisons and contaminants. The ones that are participating in, say, shortage narratives and narratives of that of sickness and ill health and things of that nature, those are the ones that are cabal oriented. This is something to look out for when you go to your local stores and markets.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Does everyone have any other questions?
Actually, I do. Just something to clarify quickly. So when we talk about acidity in the body, my perception of it is that sometimes it can be eating too much sugar or refined sugar or too many carbs or something along those lines. And the best way for everyone to actually balance it out is to try and be more balanced in their life with their food intake. Is that, and it sounds very simple, but I just wanted to get your perception on the whole, like the food, the sugar, the carbs and things like that.
Yes, you are correct in this. It is so very prevalent also right now, the weight control aspects of your society. However, what is causing the obesity and morbid obesity in your cultures currently is a viral contagion that is spreading planet-wide and is being touted as just the person is not giving enough self-care to themselves. We're not saying do not do your own shadow work and self-care. This is not quite the opposite. We're just saying that those that are perceived in power, which are not necessarily, let's just put it that way, are basically toting that it is all the fault of the individual, when in fact it is the fault of themselves for putting the contaminants in the food, waters, and the viral contagions therein. But watching the food intake is quite important right now. The only reason that he himself also intakes more like a giant's worth of food, let's just say, is because his soul aspect is that of such, and feels that the body requires as much as a 150-foot giant. No, this is not necessarily the case. You see, the body must adapt to the environment that it's in, and Torankal does not seem to understand this particular thing. But I will not bash him any further. This is, but in your case, you are doing things correctly by balancing things out. It is not necessarily a bad thing to indulge every now and again. In fact, I would advise that you do so in certain cases. Just not overdo this. They're expecting people to go over the limit. And some people do, thinking that this is something that is required for the body. No, if you go over the amount too much, the body forms an addictive quality around those substances, such as addictive medicines and potions and the like, but also foods as well, thinking that it is needed for that of the survival of the mind and the body. But the soul, not only does the soul then start to think that the body requires it, the body is thinking you're getting instructions from the soul, which in fact you are, because you're sending certain codes back to the soul self, you see. And then the soul begins to feel as though this is a cycle that is fine to remain in. So the soul sometimes can be as guilty as the body, but it is mainly the body that is guilty of holding on to this, if it makes sense to you. But yes, intake of food is quite important right now.
And sorry, just to clarify, and this can also unground people this way, like if they go too far constantly in their way of eating, this can also be very ungrounding as well.
Yes, indeed. If you go too far in the other direction without some form of balance of indulgence in there to basically ease the mind and the body and the soul, then of course this can also deground you as well. Yes.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yes, thank you. And for your curiosity, Jason, yes, we do indeed know each other from the ancient times. Your group encountered mine on more than one occasion. We began to have a, as you would say, meeting of the minds as far as different magical techniques, different healing techniques, and different strategy regarding the enemy that unfortunately infested this world. So back in ancient times, we did meet quite a lot to trade ideas on different alchemical formulas, different counterbalances to things that were very similar to your chemtrailing and very similar to your poisons in the water, which is not a new idea. This goes back to even long before the Fomorian and Tuathan timeframes in Ireland, where in fact the Fomorian contingencies loved to poison the foods and the waters by misaligning the different molecules in the genetic engineering of the different animals and the water molecules, that and also adding poisons to the water, which then began to alter the humans' perceptions and mindsets. This is where you and I began to focus on different cures for these particular substances. You can meditate on this if you like, but this is where you recognize myself and my group from.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yes, thank you very much. If there are no more questions, I can detach at this time.
We just any last thoughts that we haven't asked you that you think are relevant to this conversation? I appreciate you adding.
Yes, this is quite a relevant conversation now, especially in light of the dark magics that are floating around your world and alchemical and artificial intelligence engineered situations. This is why this is so very important to remain grounded. Watch what you intake into the body. Stay as close to what humans call in shape as possible. and live in the moment of your joys and passions and your own inner wizardry, as some would call it. This is very, very important, and know who you are and what you are doing at all times. One would think that there's what you would call an oxymoron, or an opposite or opposing idea, but remaining in yourself a time of timelessness, or allowing yourself a time of timelessness, is so very important. Taking a break from the world, as you would call it, allowing yourselves to recharge, not allowing yourself to get caught up in what humans call the rat race. This is something that's very prevalent. Not allowing fear to consume, even though it can be a guiding light at times. When something is awry, you have what he calls a red alert bulb go off in the head. This may seem like it's a fear or a paranoia, but it can also lead to intuition. Just don't allow your fears to consume you. Allow your intuition to reign supreme. But if you're spooked by something, there's obviously a reason for this. So do not deny that. Do not go into the separation of self like the New Age community would have you believe, but just don't become consumed by all-consuming fears surrounding things that can be easily rectified, such as certain energetic situations and physical situations. Also, imbalances in health and mind and brain can also affect the connection to soul and a connection to the grounding. This sometimes may result into you having to enter into an arena that you may not feel completely comfortable, getting things situated within your body, mind, and soul. If you start to feel uncomfortable about something, that means it's something that you must deal with. It is your soul essentially telling you you're in uncharted waters, but everything is essentially fine. So this is where I will leave this conversation. So thank you all for this, and blessings to all that have listened to the sound of my voice. Goodbye.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm starting to go to sleep there. Okay, but yeah, when I hold on to that crystal for a while and channeling, my hand starts to go to sleep a little bit. But with one also as powerful as Chrome is, he's actually quite big, and all I can really see is his face. It's like a head has come through, and big, you can see his large head. So he's on top of a mountain right now, between two large stones, transmitting from there, from what I can see. He's in a snowy environment too. I can see snow in the background as well. Yes, I know that's because there is. Thank you. All right. All right. Yeah, he's becoming a smart ass, kind of like Isaac, but they've all seemed to be doing this. Kind of they're throwing me under the bus in some fashion, like you heard, or they will make fun of me in some fashion. So that's just the old banter and the old camaraderie that they're trying to bring back to raise the energy, also regrounding oneself in laughter. So that's why Isaac does what he does too. He jokes around so that you can it raises your energy and helps you reestablish grounding pretty quickly. So they tend to go hand in hand. Faster moving, or what people call higher moving frequencies, and grounding tend to be one thing sometimes. So just one's more grounded to the earth, one is more raised up and in a more balanced mood. So that's why they do this joking and bantering back and forth like that. So it's always been that way since ancient times. They're just bringing it back. So so I don't know if any of you have anything to add. We can call it here, but also affirmation of blessing. I was hoping he would do this, but he did not do this. So
anyway, blessings to everyone out there. Please take what we've said to heart. Think about it. It will come to you in a greater understanding. Understand yourself. Be authentic. Learn how to ground properly, and learn how it enables you to be the fullness of yourself. With great compassion, with great warmth and understanding, we send you the best of wishes from us to you. So good luck, guys, with your grounding out there. We know it's hard. But
good
you
luck.
can do it.
Yes, thank you, everybody, and thanks for watching this episode of The Lifting with our friends from Australia. So thank you, everybody. Bye-bye.
See you later.
Blessings.